Welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try enforcing some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 797 of the Trinity Force Podcast. I'm your host, as always, N.A. Eric, and tonight we're talking Aurelion Sol. Yes, the champion that has the exact same lore as before, so you don't get to hear me nerd out about his lore, but the champion's gameplay has been completely redone, so we'll talk all about that, as well as the Jarvan buff, which we missed from last patch. It was not in the provisional notes, it was removed from there, but it did end up going through, so we'll talk about that as well. And but before we get into business, I guess one thing at the top of business, then we'll chat a little bit, gents, is we are still looking for an additional host. If you are interested in becoming one of us, one of the legendary Trinity Force podcasters, then reach out to me in the Discord server, or you can just email a short audio clip of yourself talking about why you want to join us and one specific patch note that you think is impactful or not impactful, and explain why. We just want to hear how you think about it and why you want to join us. So submit that to questions@trinityforcepodcast.com. Or if you have further questions about anything like that, reach out to me via the Discord, and you can find me in there. So, And John, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing great.
You're back. Are you feeling better? You were out sick.
I'm feeling excellent.
Are you feeling like you have happy health?
Oh, most definitely. Definitely a happy health moment over here.
Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Yeah. What you been up to then in the last 2 weeks since we talked to you?
A little league. Been playing a lot of Sekiro. Been enjoying that a lot. Just grinded that a bunch. Also been playing Fallen Order, trying to finally finish that before the new one comes out. So
yeah,
before games.
Before Jedi Survivor. When does that drop?
I think it's like middle of March or something like that.
Let's see. I remember scheduled to release April 28th. It says. I don't remember. I thought it was in March as well, but I do know that I thought it was planned for like March 10th or something. Whatever. But I'm taking the day off whenever that comes out, and I'm just gonna play it. I'm taking the day off work.
Yeah, it might have been March because I remember it being in March, but they might have pushed it back.
Yeah, so then I might need to change the out of office on my calendar.
Yeah, for sure. I've been enjoying that game a lot more chill than Sekiro, but I have been enjoying Sekiro a lot. I love the sword play in that game, and the parrying and deflection feels so good in that game. It's super satisfying too once you get it down and get the patterns down of the bosses and the enemies and stuff. But it feels like it's super interesting because it feels like almost like a rhythm more than anything, like playing like a drum or something.
Yeah, it's like you're in the flow of battle.
Yeah, because it's a lot of like anticipation of their attack, parrying, and then knowing how many times to parry before you attack, and then attacking, but knowing when to stop attacking. But also, there's a lot of attacks where you can't, like parrying it will break your stance really easily, and like you like open to attack. So you have to know when to jump or dodge also, so it doesn't. But then there's like almost in every situation, parrying is the best option. But you have to know the few circumstances against certain enemies when that's not optimal. So there's a lot of nuance with the different enemies you fight too, which can be really frustrating. But
Sounds a lot
Also
like
feels great.
playing Fiora to me.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of dueling.
Yeah, a lot of dueling. You got to know when to parry and which direction to parry and who to try and hit with it and which ability are you using it on and yeah, when to Q, which direction and stuff, when to flash if you're taking that. Yeah, it sounds like it. But I'm glad you're enjoying that game. That one,
Yeah.
I remember watching a YouTube video not that long ago and it was of like game ranks. It was from their website, I think it was like some of the top games or some of the games with the most replay value, and that one was on there. So when you beat it, I don't want to say what, but I would highly encourage you to go back through and go through like I think it's like Game Plus or like replay through it, because have you played through Sekiro before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, the only reason I don't know like what story things change. I believe some story things change, but I do know. Have you unlocked a grappling hook yet?
Yeah, you get the grappling hook pretty early on.
Okay, so maybe that wasn't it. There's something else about uh oh, I remember what it is, but I think it was that they turned the difficulty down afterwards. So then you can just breeze through it and enjoy the story more and not be worrying constantly about learning the attack patterns of everything. There was probably more to it as well. I think there's some story changes as well, but I'd encourage you to look it up and check it out because that sounds like, a lot of games don't have extra stuff um when you go through it, but that one definitely seemed like it did.
Yeah, definitely at the beginning of the game, I get what you're saying though, because it's like, uh, I mean, you're like trying to focus on the story, but also like if you've also previously been in an intense moment in the game, you're just sitting there like in a kind of unusual spot because you've just been in an intense moment. You're like, oh, you can't even like really enjoy, I guess, like some of that stuff for what it is, like some of the cutscenes and stuff, because you're like just kind of on edge a little bit.
Yeah, so imagine if they like have the difficulty or turned it down by a third, and then you can really, take it in for the narrative experience that it is. That's my
Yeah, the
understanding
game is
about what they do.
beautiful too.
It looks
It just
beautiful.
looks good.
It looked really good when I've seen some footage about it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Everything going well work-wise and everything like that?
Yeah, yeah, everything's good.
Cool. Cool, cool. Glad to hear it. Bomo, how you doing, man? By the way, I just need to say right before you say anything that when you've taken a couple drinks of whatever you're drinking, the drink is completely hollow and it looks like you're just like like miming drinking. That's what it looked like.
Mm. Oh, that's really weird. Yeah, I've been pretty good. I ended my my win streak at 10, 11 games or something. So I went from like gold 3 up to promos into platinum on my win streak, and so was pretty good week of league. I'm a little gold 1 like 50 some LP right now. I lost 3 games today, and so I'm sticking with kind of the 3 block um game, so I don't tilt Q and lose further. But yeah, it's been pretty good. All my champions have been feeling all my champions. My 2 champions I've been playing have been feeling pretty good. Definitely feel like even if I get down in laning phase, I feel like I'm still pretty useful just because I know how to play the champion really well.
Hmm.
Um, and so when I win lane, I pretty much hard carry the games, but those pesky junglers just coming into my lane and ruining the entire lane for me has been suboptimal. So it's kind of a learning game, I guess, playing around all those specific ganks, and I've actually had pretty good 1v2 moments from those ganks, so I definitely feel like I am playing pretty well right now. And so everything seems to be going fine. I started the season like 3-7, and now I'm 28-22. So brought it back up pretty quickly. That 10 win streak did help a lot, but I'm hoping to get to plat in a couple weeks. We'll see, and then from there actually just try grinding. I think I have a champion in mind I want to introduce as my third champion, and we're actually gonna talk about him in a couple minutes. So I can bring that up a little bit later. But yeah, I think I have a third champion for climbing solo queue now.
And so, to that point, I was checking because that was the bonus question of the week that we put out there a couple weeks ago, or last episode. And I already told you what Fenrir said off air. He said Sivir mid, but I've looked through and we have a couple additional ones. So you should pick up Cassiopeia as your range character. Heavy scaling damage, outplay potential, and the ability to use Seraph's Roa very well. And then the other one, Crush, said that you should play Orianna because she's absolutely fitting the niche you're looking to fill with a control mage centered around team fighting and has decent laning and that can do things to the front line as well. So those are the two additional ones from listeners. Haven't you played Cassiopeia before? Didn't you pick her up for a bit? Or you tried?
Yeah, I played both Cass and Oriana like last season. Well, so I picked up Cass at the preseason of last year, but the meta was pretty rough for her. She was just getting outranged by like Victor and mages like that, so I pretty much dropped her. But I did play her a lot. And Oriana I've always kind of played. I just dropped her last season because wasn't having any fun, especially with the phase rush nerfs on her. I wasn't really enjoying it.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about bringing her back because she did get buffed, but yeah, I don't know. I just kind of stopped playing her in general. So, but yeah, I did play both of them for a pretty good amount of time.
Okay. Well, keep them coming, listeners. If you have a champion, a ranged mage style champion that you think that Bomo should play, keep them coming because there was a reward. And while I can't remember the exact what it was, once we find which one sticks, we will re-announce it and dole out said reward.
$25 worth of RP.
Oh, there you go then. Cool. There we go. Okay. Outside of League, everything going well, Bomo?
Yeah. Cooked some food for the Super Bowl yesterday.
What'd you make?
Spoilers. Oh, what did I make? I made a smoked salmon dip.
Ooh.
I made a garlic knots from scratch. I made vegetarian pinwheels. Pinwheels are like those wraps that are cut up into like little sushi rolls, essentially.
Okay.
So I put like cucumber, bell pepper, cabbage, red onions, and stuff in that. Made meatballs from scratch, and
What kind of seasoning did you put in with the meatballs? And what kind of
I use like
what cut of meat did you use as well?
I used a half and half of ground turkey and ground pork.
Nice.
And I use like the classic Italian seasoning stuff with like rosemary, thyme, basil, oregano, and stuff like that. And I think I made one more thing, but I'm forgetting. Oh, and deviled eggs.
Oh.
So those are a little bit on the healthier side, I guess. So no chicken wings this time, but it was pretty good.
Nice. If
Yeah.
you like SNL, or if anyone likes SNL and they like wings and stuff with the Super Bowl, in the most recent episode of Saturday Night Live, for those who don't know what SNL is, but when oh, what's his name? Who's the main person in the Last of Us show? Like, oh my god, Pedro Pascal. Yeah, Pedro Pascal. Yeah, he was the guest on it. It was great. But there was a skit where it was like wing pit or whatever is what they called it. And it was hilarious. It was. I don't even want to give anything away because it just keeps escalating with like wings and sauces, and I don't even want to. I don't want to do anything because I was cracking up at it. So go watch that at all if you want a good chuckle. And I'm sure you could just find that skit itself on YouTube at this point if you don't want to watch the whole episode. But it was a good episode overall. Sorry, you were going to talk about the game or something, and you said spoilers. Then I interrupted you to ask about food because I'm a foodie.
We can just talk about food. Yeah, I'm fine. I don't really care about the two teams, anyways. Well, I'm just salty because my team. I feel like never. Yeah, I won't talk about it.
Were there any good commercials? That's what I care about.
There's a movie called Cocaine Bear coming out. I saw that commercial.
Yeah, that movie looks sweet. I mean, it doesn't look that good, but it looks like something I'm gonna enjoy and love.
Yeah. What other commercials were there?
What about Doritos? They do something big every year.
I don't remember Doritos commercial at all. I don't think they
Hmm.
probably had one. A lot of them were not memorable, honestly.
Okay.
Maybe because I wasn't so invested this year because of the teams that were playing. But yeah, nothing really stuck with me.
John,
The
did you
halftime
watch?
show was okay, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
I did. I mean,
any
on and off. Like, I mean, I didn't watch the entirety of it, every second of it.
Sure. Cool. I was playing League while the game was on. I'm not a football guy. So cool. Okay. Well, dudes, let's talk ASOL. So, for those who are not aware, um, Aurelion Sol was reworked. So if you just started playing League in the last week, then you don't know what happened, what ASOL was before. But lore stayed exactly the same. Visuals stayed the same as well, except for updating the visuals to accommodate the new abilities because they changed. But other than that, the skins are the same, and people overall really seem to like the way that he looks, and I would agree with that. I think he looks sweet, and his skins are all quite good too. Um, but I'll just run through the abilities, and then we can kind of talk everything ASOL here. So, his new passive is Cosmic Creator. His Aurelion Sol's damaging abilities against enemies grant him stacks of this new currency called Stardust, which improve each of his abilities. It's not something you have to go pick up like a Senna Soul or a Thresh Soul or anything like that. It just appears in your hotbar that you now have Stardust. The amount of Stardust collected by each ability may vary by the target, so you can collect some from champions, you can collect some from epic monsters or normal monsters or minions, and depending on what you hit and how you kill them or stuff like that, you can collect different amounts of them. Each of the depending on how many Stardust you have. Oh my god! Depending on how much Stardust you have, you enhance your other abilities. The Q, Breath of Light, it deals extra bonus magic damage equal to a percentage of your Stardust stacks. And then the W, the flight, the range is increased. The E, the outer and inner radius of it is larger, and the execution threshold increases as well. And then the R, effect radius increases as well. So, but all that doesn't mean all that much. Let's get into what the abilities are. So the Breath of Light is his new Q. It used to be a big star that you could it would grow as you moved towards where you were going, and then it would detonate, dealing damage and stunning everyone caught within it. But now this is Breath of Light. So no cast time, flat cooldown of 3 seconds, which I don't even think goes down with ability haste. I think it's a hard cooldown like a Mumu's Q. And then the range of the ability increases with level. The mana cost also increases per ability level, and it scales from 22.5 to 32.5 mana per half second. So this is a channel. And so Aurelion Sol charges for up to 3.25 seconds to exhale a beam of starfire, is what they're calling it, during which he can steer the beam in any target direction by moving your mouse. Think a Yumi Q is the same thing there. The beam collides with the first enemy hit, revealing them and dealing magic damage every eighth of a second, reduced to 50% for other surrounding enemies hit by the beam. And then it can be recast during the duration to stop it, and the recast just stops it. At rank 5, the channel duration ends. So it's normally like 3 seconds that you can channel it for, 3.25 seconds. Once you max this ability out, there is no max channel duration, so you can continually spray this ability for as long as you have the mana to do so. For each second that the beam is continually damages the same enemy, it bursts to deal bonus magic damage and grants 1 Stardust if the target is a champion. So if you're using it on an epic monster, a monster, or a minion, it does not give you any Stardust. The damage based on the target's health ratio is capped again at 300 against monsters, so you can't do more than 300 in that burst. And so how much damage does it do, you're thinking? Well, 3.75 to 11.25 based on level, plus 7.5% AP. And then the bonus magic damage that it does for every second that you're hitting someone with it, when you're hitting a target with the ability, is 20 to 40 based on level, plus 40 to 80 flat damage and an additional 40% AP and a small amount, like 0.031% of your Stardust stacks, and that's the percentage of your target's maximum health as well. So it's really hitting hard. Yeah, I'll just read through all the abilities then. So buckle up. Here is Astral Flight. The second one is W. So this is just Aurelion Sol dashes in target direction. Can't be stopped by being in combat anymore. It just goes for as far as the distance is. The cooldown is 22, scaling down to 16. The mana cost is 80, scaling up to 100. A very short cast time, and the range is a flat 1200, but it goes up by 7.5 units per Stardust stack. So as you accrue more Stardust, your Q is doing more damage, and you can fly further overall as the game goes on, which the distance is not modified by the level you put into this ability. So you're purely getting, or you're almost the only thing you're getting from leveling this ability is the cooldown. But you also get an additional damage modifier on Breath of Light. So when you're flying, you can use your Q, you can use your E, you can even use your R as well. But if you're using your Q, it does additional damage while you're flying. It goes 114 to 120% flat damage modifier. So it will increase the flat damage that the ability is doing. Yeah, while in flight, he has unobstructed vision, so he can see over all the walls. Just like if, I'm not even sure what that'd be like. Zareth ult in a way, like you see up further above. That's the same way that you get to see. Breath of Light has no cooldown, and the max channel duration and its flat damage is increased. So you can use your Q for much longer, even if you don't have it maxed out while you're flying. While you're using your Q, though, your dash does slow down, and then he will be knocked off by any immobilizing CC. So if you slow him or damage him, it doesn't do anything. But if you were to stun, silence, I guess not silence, root, or suppress, or anything that would normally stop them from being able to move, this will also get canceled, and then he will stop. Additionally, if he scores a takedown within 3 seconds of damaging them, then Astral Flight, this W ability's cooldown, will be reset for 90% of his total cooldown. Those are the first two. Then let's get into his E, Singularity. Very short cast time, 60 to 100 mana, scaling up with level. Cooldown 12 to 10. Effect radius is a lot of math and square roots and stuff that I'm not going to read, but there's an inner circle and an outer circle as well. So basically it does a pulling effect because it's like a dark hole. It's like a black hole. So think Rel Ultimate does the same thing the Magnet Storm. So enemies will get pulled towards the center of this black hole, and while they're in it, it does damage to them every 0.5 seconds. Grants sight of the area, or it deals damage every 0.25 seconds as well. The magic damage per tick is 2.5 to 7.5 plus 6.25% AP. If you are in the middle and below 5% of your max health plus additional amounts with Stardust stacks, then you are just immediately executed. So that's what the inner does. The inner doesn't do more inherent damage, it looks like. After Singularity ends, Aurelion Sol is granted Stardust for each continuous second that enemy champions were inside it, and a varying amount for enemies that died while within. So if champions and epic monsters die to the Singularity execution, he gets 5 Stardust. Same with epic monsters. Large minions and monsters grant 3, small minions and monsters grant 1. So he's able to get it from all those. And then finally the ultimate. So the ultimate has 2 forms. There's a lot of reading here, folks. This is very 2023 champion. So cost 100 mana. Cooldown is 120, scaling down to 100 seconds. There's no cast time. The range is 1250, so it's pretty long. And Aurelion Sol calls down a star after 1.25 seconds, which deals magic damage to everyone hit and stuns them. It grants 5 Stardust for each enemy champion hit, and the damage is 150 to 350 plus 65% AP. Once he learns this ability and gathers an additional 75 Stardust after learning the ability, his ultimate is transformed into, instead of the falling star, into the skies descend. So the effect radius is increased. he summons an enormous star to impact the target location after 2 seconds, so it takes longer to come down, but it deals 25% increased damage, and it knocks up enemies hit for 1.25 seconds, not just stuns them. Then the empowered magic damage is 187.5, scaling up to 437.5 plus 81.25% AP. Upon impact, a massive shockwave is unleashed, which rapidly expands outwards from the impact location. Think of a shockwave after a crater hitting over 3 seconds, which deals magic damage and slows all enemy champions and epic monsters hit by 50% for 1 second and reveals them for 1.5 seconds. And the wave magic damage is 150 to 350 plus 60% AP. So that was a lot of reading. Essentially, he collects Stardust when he deals damage to champions. He can fly over terrain a fixed distance while using his W. He cannot turn while he's in the air. He has this Q, which does continuous AoE damage in an area that or not AoE, sorry, single target ish damage when aimed at someone when he's channeling it. The E drops down and pulls people towards the center of the black hole and does damage. And then his ultimate sends down in an area, stuns, deals damage, collects Stardust from it, and then if it's empowered, it stuns, knocks up, deals damage, and then there's a wave that comes and does more damage and slows people. Whew. My throat's feeling a little sore. I need some water after all that. So I played some Asol. Bomo, I know you were saying this is a champion that you might like to pick up. So why don't you run us through why Asol speaks to you?
I think it kind of fits the the parameters that I've been looking at for a champion. So builds Roa, which I think is really strong. Seraph's, I think, is also really strong on him, and he has a lot of zone control. His abilities are pretty. Honestly, they're pretty telegraphable, where you know where it's happening, and there's slight delays. So like the ultimate, right? Even though the cast time is instantaneous, there's the effect of falling from the sky, which takes a while. So placing that is a skill shot in itself too. And I think the W has a lot of outplay potential. It auto resets. Well, it doesn't auto. It resets your Q cooldown, right? So you can Q onto specific champions or minions, and then you can W to have essentially no cooldown on the Q, and you're moving as you're using your Q, which is pretty good. And then the E, it does drag the enemies to the center, but it's not too strong, and it takes a while to ramp up too. So that's another one. It's an ability that you use to control specific terrain as well. So I think it has a lot of battle mage and control mage type archetypes for this champion, and I've just been having pretty fun whenever I can play him, I guess. But he's always banned all the time right now. But I've been having a lot of fun playing him. I've only played like 5 or 6 games on him, but I think it kind of feels everything that I need. He feels like a pretty good lane bully too, in a sense, and he scales pretty hard. But yeah, the lane bullying does take a lot of mana, I've noticed. So he does run pretty easily early on, but I guess that's kind of his weakness with his kit. But yeah, otherwise I think what I talk about the resource management all the time. So I think being able to manage his resources was pretty good too. And yeah, I'm just excited to play him more. Yeah, so I think this is gonna be my 3rd champion. We'll see in about 20 so games to see if he sticks, but as of right now, I think that's kind of where I'm leaning towards playing Aurelion Sol. I would say Asol is pretty tight. I'm a fan.
So you said he's banned a lot. He is currently banned in 55.7% of games on this patch since he came out. And his win rate's been dropping actually as people have been playing him more. So he started out at like 52, now he's down to 49. And he still picks 16% of the time. So he's in 3/4 of games, whether he's banned or picked, which is kind of wild that he's in that much. That's pretty fucking crazy. His W definitely reminds me the E reminds me a lot of like terrain control battle mage. That's a good call out. It reminds me a lot of Victor's W, the gravity storm or static storm or gravity shield. What
Yeah,
is it called? Uh, Let me look.
gravity. Yeah, I don't know. Gravity shield. That sounds right.
Gravity field.
Gravity field. Okay, pretty close.
Yeah, except
One
Victor's
letter,
thing
two
doesn't
letters.
do damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. John, what have been your impressions? You haven't played Aesol, but I know you've played with and against him. What have you seen in the champion?
Yeah, I mean he seems good to me. I mean, like I don't know. It seemed to me like his wave clear is pretty good early, even with the kind of the mana problems that he has.
Does
But
he even have mana problems though? Like we were
yeah, not
bullshitting a
really.
little bit
Not really.
earlier, and not really.
Yeah, he just I mean he builds Seraphs, I believe, pretty commonly second now, so he's building a tier, he really doesn't have mana problems. But yeah, I mean I think there are a few parts of his kit that are pretty insane to me, in my opinion. But I
Like
don't know, I
what?
guess
Like
it
what?
kinda so like I guess I understand the whole scaling thing as far as his abilities and stuff, like with his passive, but I don't know, it seems like some parts of it are a little too strong. I don't know. He just seems very strong. Like I don't think his E should get bigger.
Agreed. Or the exit. Like for me, also, I don't think the execute threshold should go up.
Yeah, that seems just pretty pretty crazy. Like that already makes it really easy for him to farm with, and then also like not only that, it makes it there's no like prediction or you like understanding the execute threshold for the ability. It just straight up shows you like Pykel, you know. Like there's no like
Yeah.
it's as easy as it gets. You know, there's nothing to really knowing the champion or what I don't know. You know what I mean? Like for
Mhm.
Garen, no, it doesn't do that. You know what I mean? But like, why does it do it for Aurelion Sol E?
Yeah, that would be nice actually. That'd be a really good quality of life change to add it to Garen's ult because it's on like Cho'Gath ult. Why isn't it on there? I guess
Yeah, it's what
it's
Garen
not an
will. Yeah,
execute, but it should be on there.
is it? I thought it is execute.
It does more damage based on your missing health, but it's not an execute. But then again, Cho'Gath ult isn't technically an execute either. It's just a big hunk of true damage.
Because I thought Garen ult was true damage.
It does magic damage, I believe. Let me look. Garen. Demacian Justice. Oh, it is true damage. I apologize.
I feel
And
like
it,
that's the only ability in the game that's like that doesn't have like a threshold thing. I've always thought that
yeah.
is a little. I don't know. That was just my first impression, I guess, of Aurelion Souls. Like E is like why does it just make it super easy to do that? I guess on a basic ability, but I mean, I don't know. What does it start at? 7.5%, I think, or
For the
is it
execute,
5? Yeah,
it starts at 5 of their max health, and then it goes up by 2.6% of Stardust stack. So at 100 Stardust, which is not hard to get at all, you're getting executed at 7.6. And then at 200 Stardust, again, not that hard, 10%. A little over 10%. That's nuts.
yeah. I think that they just need to nerf his passive just a little bit, or like make it like the ratio is a little different. So like he has to get, I don't know, he just gets less benefit from his stacks because it's easy. I don't know. I get that part of it is like you got to hit the abilities, but like I don't know. It's not like it's
They're not hard to hit.
yeah. It's not like that's gonna be the, if you're hitting half of your stuff, you're gonna get most of these benefits pretty easily.
Yeah,
You know.
it is too easy to pull off. It feels like to me. It needs. I feel like he needs to have a little bit more of, the Nidalee factor, where it's pretty hard to hit Nidalee spears consistently, and you get huge payoffs when you hit them. Asol's swung too far the other way for me. The hitbox on the Q is very generous, as is everything with the E. Um, there's no damage on the W, and the R feels fine, but They are very generous. I think the E should also slow less, is what I would say. I don't know. I think that there's definitely some balancing that has to happen with him, though. I agree with you. The Yeah, the E has issues. I don't have any problems with the ultimate. I also don't have any problems with his W at all. Um,
Yeah, I agree with that. His R and W, I'm fine with. His W, it's like at least he has to get 75 stacks, which, like as you already said, is not that hard to get. Any normal game, you're gonna get 75 Stardust stacks.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take that long at all because you collect them so easily, especially if you're using your E to execute minions with your Q. You'll get it pretty quickly. When I was playing, I was playing against bots, so I was at an accelerated rate, but I got to 75 by the time I was like level 8. I was at like 100 by the time I was level 8ish. So that was pretty fast, I will say, but probably I would guess you're getting 100 by, you know, uh level 10, level 11 maybe. I don't know. Bomo, how fast are you getting Stardust when you're playing?
So actually, the 75 Stardust for the ultimate, it resets after you cast it.
Mhm.
So you need 75 just to get the ultimate to the Skies Descend. But once you use the Skies Descend, then you need another 75 Stardust to get it back again. So it's back to its normal ultimate. I don't know if that's clear or not.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that. It does say that in here. It does say that
Mhm.
on the wiki, and it does say that as well on when you're playing him. But at the point once you use the Skies Descend once, the empowered ultimate, are you
Mhm.
not able to collect enough Stardust in the meantime before your next ultimate? Generally?
Usually, at least the way I've played it, it's like every other ultimate if you're farming side lanes pretty consistently. It's pretty hard to do it back to back in the cooldown. So I've been doing like every other, but it gets pretty close. If you're doing a lot of skirmishing, it definitely stacks up easier. But if you're not fighting as much, then you only get so much from a minion wave, right? So a minion wave only gives you 6 Stardust if you clear all of it inside the E.
Yeah.
So that's the only way to collect the Stardust from your E, is just having champions sit there for a bit or killing minions inside of the E. And the Q doesn't get Stardust on minions, so you have to be hitting champions to collect Stardust. So it's kind of a weird thing where he's really easy to clear the wave and roam. But if you clearing the wave and you're caught mid roam, then you have no abilities besides your Q really, and maybe your W, but you can get knocked out of it too. So it's kind of a balancing game of, do you want to stack Stardust or be in a potentially more vulnerable position? But yeah, if you're skirmishing and like on the outskirts of skirmishing, then you can collect a lot more Stardust because your Q procs Stardust for every empowered Q damage, as well as them just standing in your E. So the skirmishing for sure, but if you're not skirmishing as much and playing around specific objectives, then you definitely need two rounds of ultimate to get the 75 Stardust.
Okay. That makes me feel a little bit
And
better.
yeah, it doesn't roll over either. So as soon as you cast it, you need another 75. So it's not like you can bank up a whole bunch of Stardust to recast it again. It's as soon as you cast it, then you need a full 75 Stardust to get it back up to the Skies Descend ultimate again.
Sure.
So,
Does the Falling Star feel underwhelming, the unempowered version?
A little bit, but again, it's because it takes so long to get there. So a lot of it is planning where you place it. It's kind of like Leona ulti, but it's a little slower than Leona ulti. So you have to have it like right on the champion or kind of layer the CC almost with another champion. But if you're just throwing it out without anything, then most likely you're gonna miss the regular Falling Star ultimate because people can just walk out of the circle when they see it.
I believe also it doesn't say anything on the wiki here, but enemies can see the circle from the very beginning, I
Yeah,
believe.
as soon as you cast it, they'll see the star falling, and then they can move out of that circle. So it's pretty telegraphed of where it's gonna land.
Okay. John, you were gonna say something there, right?
Oh, I was just go. What have you been building on him? Like typically.
I've just been building Seraphs, and I've been playing around with like Roa. I think, in my mind, I'm thinking Leandry's might be really good on him because of the burn and the damage over time ticks. So I think Leandry's might be pretty good. But I've just been sticking with a single build, just learning the kit, because there are times where you think you can W in, but then all of a sudden you just die, right? So it's kind of a weird balance of just figuring out the limits of the champions. I've kind of been sticking with the Roa into Seraph type build, and then I've been going demonic. I don't know if that's the right build, but I've been
Leandry, or
kind of
not?
going
Not
like the
sorry, not Leandry's. Rylai's has seemed
Riley's.
really
Oh yeah,
good.
for the slows, yeah. But yeah, I've been going like those HP AP items that are like AP bruisers, and then just going demonic too. So demonic, Rylai's, Roa, Seraph type of situation, and feels pretty good. As long as you don't die early. I went against an Aurelion Sol, and he definitely feels easy to lane against as Yone. I think if you get on him, that's the easiest part. It's just if you're getting on him, then it's pretty hard for him to get out, and you can knock him out of his W and stuff. But yeah, in general, the trick with Aurelion Sol is making him burn his W because it uses a lot of mana. So level 1, it's 80 mana. So it's kind of the same vein of like Corki and Azir, where you want to burn their dash in lane so they don't have a lot of mana to use. And that's kind of what I've sort of been figuring out. I think the really good Aurelion Souls will hold on to their W a lot of the times in laning phase so they don't run out of mana. Um,
Okay. Um, what as playing against or so what other champions do you think do well against Aurelion Sol in lane?
any kind of CC, I can see him being really weak to like. So he's a mid laner, right? So he's pretty susceptible to jungle ganks. I think Vi is gonna be really good. Sejuani's gonna be really good into him. Um, I honestly had really no issues laning against him as Yone. So those melee type Talon might be really good against him too.
I think Fizz would
Um,
be pretty good against him.
yeah, Fizz. So those types of champions, especially with Fizz, you can time your ultimate, so he gets knocked out of his W and he can't really do anything. So yeah, just champions who can easily get on. I think mage versus mage, it's pretty even. Both mages will just kind of scale, but a lot of the melee champions with dashes have an easy time of dealing with him.
Yeah, yeah, I have a sneaky pocket, or not, I guess not pocket pick, but I played a game against him where he was just tearing up our bot side and our mid laner. Our mid laner was playing, I want to say Lux, and Lux couldn't do much against him at all.
Mhm.
But our top laner was Cho'Gath, and Cho, I think if you play him in mid lane, would be a great counter pick because when he's using his Q, he's stationary. So you just throw the Q down, and he has to. He really can't walk away because he's gonna stop canceling Q and then get out of the way. That thing already comes up really fast. So
Mhm.
free Q, walk up, W, and then he can't get away. He can't do anything there. Chomp, AP Cho'Gath, boom.
Yeah,
That's my pocket counter pick.
I think also you can knock him out of his W with your silence.
Yeah, it looks like it.
So I think you can do that. But yeah, I think there are good answers to him in general. But yeah, being stationary and being like a flamethrower, I think is pretty unique. I don't know if there's a lot of champions that have that type of ability, right? Where you're either stationary or you have to use two abilities to be mobile, but use the ability. Maybe Xerath ultimate, but that's the
Yeah,
only like
and
Jin, maybe Jin. Yeah.
and Bomo, do you remember old Zareth before with his old W where it would instead of having the orb come down, I don't remember what his E was, but the basically he would go stationary and turn into like a mage turret with his W, and you would get
Oh yeah,
increased
yeah, yeah.
range and increased mana regen, but you were
Mhm.
immobile. You had to cancel the W if you wanted to
It was like a
move.
toggle, right, where you could like toggle into like a turret mode almost.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it had
Yeah.
a cooldown, but once you used it, I think there were a few seconds where you couldn't untoggle it, to my memory.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's the only one I can think. And just like you said, Zeratheld right now, that's the only one I can think that you're forcibly stationary to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his Q I found surprisingly long range. I feel like the
Yeah, it
range needs to
scales
go
with
down a
level
little
too.
bit.
So it's 750, right? So it's longer than Caitlyn's auto. So it's pretty good. And it goes up to 920. So the range actually gets really, really large as it's the first max anyways. And you're actually getting a lot of range off the Q. It feels pretty good. Especially with being able to kite with Rylai. So right, you build Rylai's and then you're in a fight and you just W away and you're just slowly gliding away and hitting Qs on them and they're chasing you and they can't do anything.
And you throw
So
down an
stuff like
E
that feels
as
pretty
well,
good.
and then you can
Yeah.
Q and exactly it. Oh my god, so
I
much
think
melt.
there was a bug where he could cast every ability in flight, but I don't know if that's intended or not. So right, you can use your Q for sure in the flight, and I think you can use
You can use E. I did it
E.
yesterday.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can use ult. I didn't try. But
You can hit him with the
yeah,
fire breathing fade away.
yeah, right.
which is really cool to see. It
And I
definitely
think the resets are pretty good too, because it makes you want to play up, right, to kind of get those resets on the W.
Mhm.
And you can kind of keep chasing. But yeah, I'm a fan.
So, John, if you were facing an Aurelion Sol on the other side, what, I guess, all of this being context agnostic, what sort of jungler would you try to be picking if you have to focus on mid lane to counter
Yeah,
it?
so I guess I've actually I've had that experience several times now. J4, I just, do my thing and it just really screws him over. EQ or your ult just really ruins him. I've played Rengar jungle into Asol, and the one game I can remember that matchup, I was really fed, and I had Duskblade, Essence Reaver, and I was just like Duskblade proc, auto Q, you know, full combo, and it just murders him instantly. So I don't know. I felt like when he gets super ahead in lane, he just smashes lane. It seems like, and he's pretty annoying because he can roam and affect the rest of the map very easily. And then also, like y'all were saying, the cooldown that's pretty insane in team fights. If he gets a few resets, if he gets a takedown, he will be able to use his W multiple times. So it's really hard to catch him when he's doing that. So I don't know. I want to give it a go. It looks really fun. I like the rework and what they've done with it. I think it's a lot better than what it was before. I don't know. He was just a very not really. I don't know. This is just my personal opinion, but he wasn't very fun to play.
He
In my
wasn't.
opinion.
He wasn't even
So
fun to play against either. It was like, what is this? What am I facing
yeah,
here?
what is this puzzle of a character? I don't know, but yeah, I like what they've done with him for sure, and I think this is a fresh, um, look for him in general. Just makes sense with his kit. Everything looks good. The abilities, I think, are pretty creative. I think his whole just kit is and everything about it visually is pretty creative. So everything fits together. So overall, I think they did a good job. Definitely a little overtuned in my opinion, but I think that they'll take care of that with time. But overall, I think it looks really fun. I still want to give it a go.
Yeah, I'd like to play it in a norms game as well. I've only played it in bots just so I could see how the damage would ramp and everything would be if you get ahead and shit like that. Yeah. Um okay, so then pairing with Asol, Bomo, as an Asol player, what would you want built around you? Because he's a carry champion, so no ifs, ands, or buts about that. What would you sort of want to be paired around you to succeed?
I think front to back is really good with Asol's kit. So I found pretty good success with actually the champions that counter him, like Vi and Sejuani, I feel like are pretty good on his team as well. You just want to create a lot of space right between you and whoever you're killing because your range is so long. You can do a lot of damage from the outside. So I think looking for tanks or bruisers really in the jungle and top side. Bot side doesn't matter too much. Whatever is meta, I guess. But yeah, I think the bot lane is pretty irrelevant because it's like right, you're playing almost like a scaling mage like Victor and whatnot. So you just have tools to poke them down from further away than a lot of other champions do, and you can control a lot of areas with a lot of his abilities. So just having the champions back you up when you're contesting those choke points on the map with like beefier guys who can frontline for you, you can just stand still and stationary and just kind of hit them with your Q. A lot of
Yeah,
disengage, I think, is really good too.
yeah, for sure. Someone who can give them some feel.
Hmm.
But I feel like also like when I've in my experience with playing with ASOL on my team, seems like he just smashed. Like I just have priority permanently. It seems like I just always have priority because he can instantly clear wave and then be wherever. I mean, it's like, and it doesn't cost him too much resources. So that's super nice from my jungler's perspective too, because he can, even if he is scaling, he like just has priority or can get priority very easily. Um, and it just seems like he wins lane a lot. I don't know.
It definitely seemed like he had lots of prio against most anything that was in the game, and yeah,
And he can just instantly be there with his W too. Like he's just instantly there and always has priority. So it's usually you have like a numbers advantage. I found. This I mean it's just anecdotally, but in my little experience, that's what it's felt like when he's on my team.
yeah, he seems in a way like he's kind of a more user-friendly version of Rise is how I've felt, because I had a Rise on my team against Asol and they felt like they were functioning very similarly, although Rise has higher burst potential but has to get up closer for it, um, and does have larger it does have some better wave clear in general too, although not level 1. But they felt like they function pretty similarly. They're both battle mages though, so that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but FOMO to your point of like what to build on him. I meant to mention this too. I from what I'm seeing here, it's like you were saying Radabagus, but Leandries too is pretty popular. Like the win rate on it is very good too. But I would definitely give that a whirl if you
Yeah, it just
haven't.
seems like his kit meshes really well with Leandry's, right? You can apply a tick with E, and if they get stuck on there, it just keeps ticking the Leandry's, and same with Q. So all the bonus damage and the burn on top, I think, would be really good. But I really like the mana and health stacking. But maybe Rod of Ages just isn't necessary. You could go like Leandry's into Seraphs, into some tankier items. Maybe it's a kind of a 2 item mage and he just builds full tank afterwards or something like that. That could be pretty interesting too.
I'm seeing like one thing, and I think this is kind of interesting. This is a like a decent sample size too. Is starting tier in two
Hmm.
pots, going Leandries, then Rylai's, and then I guess whenever you get the upgrade for your tier, getting Archangels.
I can see that too. Yeah.
I think Rylai's just would be super good on him, honestly.
Hmm. Yeah, the slow is really good because it procs on the Q, right? And as you're Wing away and queuing them, then it's almost impossible for them to catch up, and you can place an E down too.
What do
Yeah, I
you
think
Yeah,
Rylai's. Yeah.
what do you think about Ludens on him? Because with the Q, you could proc probably 2 Ludens in as like a single normal Q. Because as I'm just reading Ludens, dealing ability damage to champions reduces the active cooldown. I think it's like 12 seconds already. So what do you think
Mhm.
about that potentially?
So with the mythic passive of Ludens is more magic pen, is that what it is?
I believe so. I'm looking
Yeah.
it up right
Yeah, it
now.
is.
Yes, 5 magic pen per additional item.
I mean, do you need magic pen if you're doing percent max health?
It never hurts to have it.
I guess so. But
So
yeah,
what I'm seeing here is it says just in terms of mythic. This is just mythic items on him. Like the best performing items are Rhodovagus, Leandries, Wounds. Rhodovagus has the highest sample size, and it's picked the most often. Has almost 52% win rate. Leandries is second as far as pick rate, and it has almost a 53% win rate. And then Ludens is third, and it's like 52.7. So also, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what situation you would build. I guess when they're just really squishy.
Or they have a
But
lot of upfront burst, and you're not going to get it all off all that much.
you know, it honestly would be kind of nice too because you get the move speed on Ludens would be nice on him too,
Yeah.
and the ability haste. It's always nice.
Yeah, and so I'm reading. So dealing ability damage against champions reduces the cooldown of the active, but it only increases it by, so it's cooldown by 0.5 seconds per champion, up to a maximum of 3 seconds per cast. So you could get 3 seconds if you hit multiple champions with it, but if you don't hit, if you only hit one champion, you're only reducing it by half a second. Granted, it has a 10-second cooldown, so it's not that big of a deal, but I think that would be a strong contender when eventually Roa gets nerfed. Because it's going to happen, folks. There's no way that it's not. It's defining the mage meta right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Before they do anything, please just fix Udyr, please.
Udyr's on the chopping block for next patch.
Thank you.
I saw it on the Jarvan main subreddit. I will try and find that so we can see what it was.
I'm just so tired of seeing it. I really am. They just Halo Blades.
I think they're using the
Cheesy.
other one. The tank is what they're going after.
Yeah, well, the demonic one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, Udyr getting nerfed. Doesn't say how. There's a lot of oh my god, there's a lot of buffs and nerfs getting hit next patch.
there are. Oh my god, I'm like just looking at his like mythic items on Udyr.
Across the board, everything, right?
Everything is so good on him. Literally everything. It's actually insane.
Yeah. It's so stupid that he can do all of
But
that.
like who's building Strybreaker on him? Like who has built like 900 times people have built Strybreaker on him.
I could see
Like
that.
what? I mean, that's just he can just build literally just wildly different items and succeed. I think that's funny.
Yeah, the problem, obviously, if he's able to build anything and succeed,
Eric,
the champion is
Eric,
overpowered.
Gale Force has a 53% win rate on Udyr, man. Something's wrong. Something's serious.
Gale Force on Udyr. Oh my god, that'd be so evil.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's so frustrating to play against, but yeah, that wouldn't surprise me if he's the next step on the top block.
Well, he is. So here's all the changes. Provisional. Like this is as of 2 hours ago. I saw this got posted on the Jarvan main subreddit. I got a notification about it because everyone was upset because Jarvan's getting nerfed. But there's a lot of changes. So again, this is like gonna drop in 9 days if this all goes through. We don't even know what numbers. But buffs are Vigor, Cho'Gath, Alistair, Ari, Malphite, Kennen, Viego, Aphelios, Senna, Riven, Orianna, Nerfs, Samira, Jax, Maokai, Elise, Amumu, Udyr, Anivia, Azir, Jarvan follow-up specifically. Champion adjustments, Thresh, Max Order. System buffs, Relic Shield and Steel Shoulder Guards. System nerfs, Spell Thief's Edge, Spectral Sickle, Kill Experience, Kill Comeback Experience, Treasure Hunter, Demonic Embrace Clear Speed. System adjustments, Jungle Sustain / Clear Speed, Triumph / Grasp / Doran Shield. So that's a lot.
That is a lot. I'm okay.
But it sounds
I'm
like they're nerfing demonic indirectly, or they're nerfing it for its clear speed, which will hurt some of
thank you.
Udyr's build paths.
I want you to go
That sounds good to me.
to.
I feel
I'm
bad
just
playing.
kidding.
I feel bad playing Udyr because it's like I don't enjoy playing something that's clearly broken. I just don't. I'm sorry. And
Same.
and Udyr is clearly broken. Same with Maokai. That's why I've played him like once.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
literally done it once.
and I just don't. I don't want to. I enjoy playing things that are like balanced or even underpowered unless you know what you're doing with it. So
Who's actually pretty good that I've played a little bit, who just feels really good to me is Echo.
I was gonna say Soraka jungle, but okay.
No, Echo feels great, I think.
What's his win rate? Let's see. Echo, I think it's pretty high. 50.65. He's picked in 8% of games. I didn't know he was that popular.
I think he is just a pretty popular champ.
That makes sense. He
Thank
still
you,
has a.
Jay.
He still has. So between mid and top though, or mid and jungle, he's in 10% of games. I didn't realize that. Okay. Anything else that we want to talk about? Oh, guys, have you seen like what do you guys think of the Aurelion Sol, like how they've changed it so the visuals to look? Because obviously the lore hasn't changed, but visually, how do the new abilities look to you? I think they look sick.
I mean, yeah, they look. I mean, as far as the aesthetic, spot on. I think it looks awesome.
Bomo, you think so as well? They nailed it.
Yeah, I think all of the effects look really cool, and it's like cool, but they're also pretty clear, right?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the biggest thing is clarity while also looking cool. So I'm a fan of the rework.
Agreed. They all definitely stand out across the different skins as well. He doesn't have very many skins, but they all stand out. But I also think that now he'll get more skins because he'll be more popular, so they'll sell more money. They'll sell more to get more money for Riot. But also, there's not as much to program because they don't have to program these stars interacting with everything like they had to before on the passive of his old W. So now they can actually make skins easier for him, and I think that's great.
And he actually feels like a celestial god now, where before it didn't really feel like it, but now the way his kit works, it definitely feels really good, in line with like his lore and stuff.
Yeah. Which
While also
if
being
you
fun to play.
agreed, yes, very fun to play. And if you're interested in Runeterra lore at all, League of Legends lore, read stuff about Aurelion Sol, watch Necrit like videos on Aurelion Sol and his interactions and stuff. He's also his voice lines are dark now because they updated his voice lines. They're dark. It's he's a dark character, but very cool, very very cool. And he created the world, so it's just sweet to see. So it's the closest that people can come to playing, literally playing God. But yeah. All right, so that's Aurelion Sol. We talked about him a little longer than I thought we would have. So let's talk about Jarvan real quick, guys. So Jarvan, we did not include him in last week's patch notes. It wasn't in the provisional notes. They removed it, but then they decided to add it back in. But basically, he got his armor went up by 2. His W shield duration went down by 1 second at all ranks. The shield cooldown went down as well by 1 second at all ranks, and the shield strength went up because it now has a plus 70% bonus AD ratio. So building AD now increases the size of the shield, and it lasts for 4 seconds still, so it lasts a while. There's a reason. I mean, that alone jumped his win rate up from being 40. I mean, let me look at what it was. So 13.1, he had a 48.14% win rate. He felt a little bit better than that. I'd put him at like 49 to. I put him at like 50 for people to know what they're doing. And his pick rate was 2%. Now his pick rate is 7.8, and he went to 52.62. So he jumped up by 4.5 percentage points. That's a huge jump, and he's still not even getting banned either. That's a huge jump in win rate. John, you were talking about it before. Like, how do you think that these buffs feel?
For who?
Jarvan, sorry.
Oh yeah, I mean, it feels really good. The games that I played of him, he feels insane. Like his W went from being, like, in my
Trash.
opinion, one of the worst abilities in the game, just unimpactful, feels terrible to use. I mean, the slow is literally the main thing for it for me. To feeling great, like it actually feels impactful. The shield feels useful. You can actually see it now, you know. But yeah, I mean, it feels great overall. I think he might be a little overtuned, but I mean, it's really fun.
Yeah, they're nerfing him next patch, so that makes sense. Uh, I didn't know this. The slow scaled with ability level. I was not aware of this. I thought it was always like a flat 30%. Hmm.
I didn't know that either. I just know that it's loaded.
Yeah, and I apologize. It's 80% bonus AD, not 70% bonus AD. Yeah, but I will agree, he feels better. I don't think it feels as crazy as before though, but I also played a lot of Jarvan before, so I haven't noticed that much of a difference. I think I'm suffering from not noticing that because I'm too in the trenches with it, but it doesn't feel as insane as I thought it would. Yes, it feels a lot better. And it feels better. Lethality benefited the most, in my opinion. I mean, it just did because shield strength went up and it's bonus AD. So, like, building full AD gets the most benefit out of it. And now you have the survivability more, which is what you were lacking when you're playing full full damage Jarvan. But I will say Bruiser also still feels good because for some reason, Bruiser items give a shitload of AD as well. So my build that I've been going, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this, is to go, if I'm not going lethality, I'm going Gore Drinker, Sterix, Zanya's third. And the game's usually over by the time I get Zanya's. Just because
I would.
the extra armor, always great. Mana, okay, cool, mana, whatever. Or I guess not mana, sorry, AP, which doesn't do anything for his Q or his passive or his R or the W, but the E has an 80% AP ratio, but also then the perma stasis, so you can dive in, do a bunch of damage, stasis, and then dive back out, hopefully, or just there's a couple extra seconds where people then have to refocus you while your team is doing shit.
So the build that I've been going on that I feel like just slaps, and I've also been going this on Lee Sin is Gore Drinker Black Cleaver. Like Black Cleaver feels really good to me, and I think that it's good on him as well because it gives you, like you were saying, and actually because they buffed it last patch, it gives you good AD health and ability haste, which J4 always loves.
Yep.
And then he can apply the passive pretty well. Like if he EQs 3 people, he's already getting a bit of benefit from it. But I don't know. I think that even like
Are you
going
running? Are you
Gore
running
Drinker,
Conqueror when you're playing him?
yeah, typically.
Okay.
But yeah, I think going. I don't know. I haven't used Sterex that much, but I don't know. I just feel like it's not that great still. I would almost venture to rather go like Gore Drinker, Black Cleaver, and then build Stopwatch, and then start building Zonya's third. But I don't know. I'm just kind of a fan of Black Cleaver too. Like on Lee Sin and Wukong, I've been enjoying that item too.
So I definitely get what you're saying. The reason I think Sterix is uniquely better on him than most other champs is he gets bonus AD equal to 50% of his base, and I think Jarvan has a pretty high base AD ratio. Uh, Jarvan's AD, like base AD, goes from 64 to 121, so you're getting an extra like, okay, realistically you're probably getting another like 40 bonus AD that it counts from just from your base when you build Sterix, and that goes directly to the shield strength now with your W. It feels like an overkill of shields to me. That may not be more valuable though, having the Sterix and all that, than the actual AD that you get from Black Cleaver, because Black Cleaver will give you more AD early on up until like level 17 if you were to go Sterix Gauge. But
The other thing I like is
yeah.
the ability haste, which I feel like is good on J4.
Yeah, that's 30 ability haste. That's insane on Black Cleaver.
Yeah, that's a ton.
Yeah, and his cooldowns are like 8 seconds. So his Q goes from 10 to 6, his flag goes from 12 to 10, and the W is 8 seconds all the time, and his ult goes from 120 to 90. So you have that all the time, basically later on once you reach level 16. But even this is an ability that you kind of use on cooldown because it's so impactful as an ultimate. I just wish that they
Yeah.
would make it so that the damage is unavoidable if you flash or dash away or something like that. Just they don't have to stay inside the pit. Make the damage unavoidable.
Yeah, like make it instant.
Yeah, or just even if it has a delay, or I don't even know how they would actually make it for the code, but maybe I don't know exactly how they would do it, but make the damage instant. His eight, I didn't realize that it was so high, but his ultimate has 180% bonus AD ratio. 180. Good
Yeah, that's
lord.
why dude, when he goes full lethality, that shit just dunks on people.
Yeah. And his Q has 140. Holy shit.
Dude, I feel like have you ever tried Duskblade
I
J4?
have. I have. I
I
like
mean,
to
I feel
I
like
like
that
it.
shit just just EQR, you one shots people.
Yep. I like it. And now with Eclipse being generally worse than it was before, it's probably a better lethality mythic to go. But I still wouldn't build that first. I like to go Umbral Glaive. And I don't run the recommended runes have, Conqueror or Lethal Tempo, whatever you prefer. I prefer Lethal Tempo basically always, but it's a stylistic preference. Secondary tree, I don't go Inspiration, I go Zombie Ward, Relentless Hunter. So then, especially paired with Umbral Glaive, you get such high vision score as well because the flag gives so much vision as well. You're just denying vision everywhere and giving vision to your team. It's
Yeah, I feel
absurd.
like yeah, I've never tried that. I'll have to give that a whirl sometime. I feel like Eclipse would be super good on them though, even with the changes to it because I don't know. I feel like I never have, and this is just like my personal preference playing J4. Like I feel like I never have issues with attack speed because of his E. So I like building just as much damage as possible on him, and then I like the move speed from Eclipse too for him, I guess, and the ability haste is nice now, but since it does give ability haste, it's like not something unique to Duskblade.
Yeah, and the shield as well. Because if you're not able to kill them, then
Right.
Duskblade loses a lot of its value. And the mythic passive for him is arguably worse than Eclipse. Um, I wouldn't take Prowler's Claw on Jarvan. It does suck that
Nah.
Eclipse gives less lethality, but it is still, I would say it's better just because it gives you percent max health shield as well, and you get a bunch of shield, you get a bunch of health from it, and then yeah, I don't know that it can be a pretty fat shield with Eclipse
Yeah,
later
I
on
feel
too.
like if you did Eclipse and then combine that with the green jungle item and then his W, I mean you're gonna have some fat shields for sure.
Yeah, and if you're playing with an Ornn on your team, Syzygy is one of the best mythics, or one of the best Ornn upgrades to my knowledge as well, the Eclipse upgrade. So, yeah. There's a lot of different ways you can play Jarvan. You can even go, you can play him support. You could also just play him full tank, and that's totally fine. Playing Radiant Virtue, you can go like First Strike if you want, and go like the Melrang tech. You can do whatever you want with him. He's so versatile to be able to play. But I would say try to steer more towards AD now because tank is gonna be just as bad as it was before, and especially now that he's gonna get nerfed, tank is gonna be worse now, or it's gonna be worse afterwards than it was in 13.1. So try to work in some AD there. What I'm thinking now would be good is Umbral into Eclipse into Sterix. That sounds good. Because then you're getting the
Yeah, that
shield.
sounds pretty annoying.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, does this count as a lifeline shield? Does Eclipse
What?
does Eclipse shield
No,
count as a lifeline? Okay, because then you
I
get
don't.
your
I don't think so.
shield, Eclipse shield, and Steric's shield.
Yeah, that would be pretty insane.
I'll have to look, but I don't think
You
it.
should try that.
I don't think it does. Yeah, I'll try that. Maybe we'll play afterwards. Fenrir messaged me and asked if we wanted to play after we're done. But yeah. So okay, that's really all I wanted to talk about with Jarvan. Bomo, you have anything you want to add about Jarvan? Are you picking him up in mid
No,
lane?
no, I actually haven't seen a Jarvan since this patch, so I'll keep playing to see if
Oh,
I
whoa.
encounter him. But I haven't played any games with or against Jarvan.
He's in about 7% of games, so not crazy high. But yeah, so okay. I guess with that we will wrap it up for this episode of the Trinity Force podcast. Um, as I said at the beginning, we are looking for an additional host, so if you're interested in that, rewind to the beginning of this episode and then listen to those instructions that I gave earlier. But other than that, we have community nights every Tuesday, starting at 7:15 Eastern, and they run for several hours, and they're a lot of fun. We get custom matches going sometimes if there's no people that hop in, so come join us for those. If you have any feedback, please send that to questions@trinityforcepodcast.com or post in the feedback thread of the Discord. And at one of us, if you have anything specific you want to say, we appreciate hearing back from all of our listeners in the community that we provide. And check out our Patreon if you're interested in any of the benefits that we offer. Then go ahead and sign up for those. They're great. Other than that, thank you for tuning in, everyone, and we will see you next time for 798.
Bye.
I